Good morning everyone, it's Yvonne here to do your What's Cracking reading. I'm feeling a little sort of still quite laid back, and thank you so much for all your beautiful comments. I feel like a lost family member coming home. Every time I come home, you're gorgeous. You make me feel very humbled by your beautiful comments. Of course, it's nice to be missed. I've got to say that somewhere in that ego of mine, it makes me feel really good when you tell me that you've all missed me. So thank you very much. It's good to be back on board, and crazily enough, you know, as much as I need the rest, it's really hard sometimes not getting in and sort of doing what I like doing. But I'm learning now that if I don't listen to my body when I get tired, I'm going to end up having to take the time off anyway. So it's taken me a lot of years to get in tune with that. Okay, so I don't really have any updates for you. I'm pretty much booked out for readings this week. Next week may be a little bit more challenging as well. I have my 9th grandchild about to enter the world, and I will probably participate to some degree with that, so it may be that I need time off there. But I have opened, what I've done is I've opened days for readings, but I've left days closed, so if I do need to move appointments for whatever reason, I don't inconvenience you too much. But yeah, so there may be time off for that. Also, we're about to come out of lockdown, which means we get to do travelling again. So hopefully by next Monday, people in my area will be able to travel to other areas, which will be good. Only if we're double vaccinated, of course. So yeah, hopefully there's a couple of things for me on the agenda. So it might mean a couple of days of taking time out again. So if you want a reading, I think I've only opened 2 days next week. And then hopefully the following week I'll be all back to normal. We'll see how we go. But yeah, family, you know, family, I don't know whether I want to say family comes first, because I'm not really willing to put a lot of my family first. But I certainly feel like children and grandchildren are definitely a priority. All right, we're going to use the Santa Muerta Tarot here, so let's have a look and see what's going on for your What's Cracking reading. We have the Emperor coming out first. You know, I've been seeing this card a little bit lately, and it's not been as positive as what it usually is. There's a sort of energy coming off the Emperor lately where I feel like there are people out there who are dealing with perhaps people who are not always above board with this energy. And the last couple of times I've read, even in personal readings, there's a feeling here people are sort of moving or going into challenging relationships, but the difference is now people are recognizing it. Now, years ago, we would have kept pushing. We would have kept investing in it. If we had someone who was cold or controlling, we would see it as our problem, our fault, so we kept investing in these people. And lately it's becoming very evident to me as a reader especially that a lot of people are becoming aware now when a relationship doesn't feel right. Now, you may have ignored it years ago. You may have gone, yeah, well, that's the way it is, you know, because we were quite accepting of perhaps poor or perhaps negative in some way relationships, and we kept persevering with them because we were taught as women especially that it was our responsibility. But I know there are men out there experiencing this too. So there's a very strong feeling that there is a lot of waking up for people. Now, what I mean by that is we are here to love other people. We're here to learn to love ourselves and therefore love others. But I think what we're realizing a lot more through our self-work and through the universe sort of opening up a bit and us seeing this level of entitlement with people, we're starting to understand our own personal value. That's not in a negative way. What we're looking for most of us is some way, shape or form equality. And this is what we are finding a lot more now in relationships, where relationships become imbalanced by this inequality. And I feel like a lot of you are being tested now with people as to, is this a healthy relationship or is this a healthy connection? And if it is, then you show me what do I need to be putting in and what do I need to be stepping back on. So I have a lot of people now coming forward, especially people who've already been in one toxic situation. But a lot of people coming forward and saying, this doesn't feel right to me. This relationship doesn't feel quite right. There seems to be this imbalance here and I can't quite work it out. So definitely an awareness now around the energy of somebody who perhaps is not, yeah, it's karmic. Yeah, I thought that might happen. I don't think that these people are necessarily bad people, although I do feel like sometimes they know what they do. Sometimes they have really strong narcissistic tendencies, so they sort of have this energy of entitlement. And some people have been raised with that energy. Some people have been raised in homes where, you know, they have a codependent parent and a narcissistic parent, or both narcissistic parents, and they grow up feeling that they are responsible for the relationships they move into as an adult. And like I always say, your parents, you know, we think parents are supposed to love their children, but it's quite evident that not all parents do. So what happens is you grow up thinking, this is what my parents did, so therefore that's what love looks like to me. And you go out into the world picking people who represent that parental love. I feel that this is happening a lot lately, and this Emperor energy is coming through as very controlling, very dominant, but also this sort of entitled energy. We do have the Justice card coming through. For some of you, you may be divorcing or separating from someone that has this energy. But what I feel more so here is that, as I said, a lot of people getting tested. It's like the universe is giving you an opportunity to understand what a healthy relationship looks like. And some people do say to me, which is really sad, because I do feel a lot of people surround themselves with other people who are going to treat them poorly as well. And you become quite accustomed to being treated that way, so it becomes your normal. When the Justice card comes through, what this is telling me is there's a karmic lesson you are learning here with perhaps somebody who's not as invested in the situation you're in as what you are. So there is sort of this realization here. Okay, so I have here the Eight of Pentacles. Very interesting energy because, and I do say this to people, if somebody's not investing in a relationship and you do see that there's an imbalance, what we tend to do, especially if you're an empath, is you keep investing in it. So you keep giving more and more love in hope that if you love more, that person will love you more, because it's something you've learned to do. It's role modeling. It's repetitive behavior. It's that Nine of Wands energy that we always talk about. But what you keep doing is you keep investing and investing. This person, especially if you've got someone who's given you a lot of love and attention up front in the beginning of a relationship, then you tend to sort of keep trying to bring that person back. And somewhere in your mind, you start to question, is it me? You know, am I not lovable? Do I need to have more love? And you keep investing, trying to sort of pull the love out of someone. And I feel like somehow or another, you could be working here with a Leo, Sag, or Aries. I actually have, there is another Aries card here. So it could be very much an Aries person. But perhaps you haven't seen this before, because you know, it's sort of like this energy here that you're being shown something by the universe that perhaps you've ignored before. So you may already be knee deep in this relationship, but you've not seen the toxicity before. But the deeper you go in, the more you invest, the more you give. If the other person is not, you're going to end up in a very toxic relationship. So you cannot make a better person by loving them more. It doesn't work that way. You make a better person by having good, healthy boundaries, by loving yourself the best way you can, and expecting that somebody loves you back or respects you back at some level. If that isn't your expectation, you're going to find yourself in these situations over and over again. And what you keep doing is you keep pulling the same person in. Why do you do that? Because you're not learning the lesson. So I feel like here we're talking about some sort of toxicity. Very strong Leo and Aries energy coming through for you this morning. The Sun card does talk about joy and happiness, but I feel like somehow you're finding this, yeah, the Chariots here. You're finding this moving forward. So it's like you are starting to understand this and maybe starting to, you know, pull your resources together and move on with this Chariot card. Ten of Swords, end of cycle. Okay. So there may be more than now it's come up in this reading. I am seeing it a lot in personal readings, but I'm definitely seeing in this reading this morning, there seems to be an energy of people learning what they don't want in a relationship. It's not a bad thing. If you wake up one day and you think, I'm putting so much into this and the person that I'm dealing with is not putting anything in, It's not a bad thing to just decide that it's time to move on and find somebody who does want to invest in you. But what you need to understand is loving that person more, giving that person more, putting more energy into something that is not already growing is wasting your time. You're just going to make it more and more toxic, and you'll start getting in your head and overthinking it. And once you start overthinking it, you become exhausted from it. It's not healthy. All right, so we have here the Two of Wands. So there's a new path opening up for you here. But you see, again, if you've learned the lessons, this new path will open up new opportunities. So most of us understand, the more we're grateful for those lessons, the more we understand what the universe is showing us, the more opportunities open up for us. So I feel like many of you coming into some sort of realization, and this may not be a romantic situation. Remember that. This could be a family member that's doing this. This could be, you know, a parent. A lot of people have high expectations of us, and they've built us the way they wanted us to be. So it could be that they are becoming more demanding. They could be becoming more upset and angry at you for not responding to their demands. They may be becoming frustrated because you're starting to challenge things that they're saying or doing. But that Two of Wands tells me that you are maybe at a crossroads here. Okay, so we have the World cards. There's definitely a Wheel of Fortune. Hooly dooly with the Lovers. Okay. Now, if you are early in a relationship and it's in the very beginning and you're already seeing signs of this, it's time to pull up stops straight away. You need to say no to the behavior. If a person has the capacity to change or be any different, they will do it as soon as you put the boundaries in place. And if you put boundaries in place and the person walks away, they were not worth your time in the first place. So we know that when you start putting boundaries in place, the only people who don't like boundaries are those people who are going to break them anyway. So, you know, it's sort of understanding that if you are starting to understand where you finish and the other person begins, then that's a really good lesson. And I'm not talking about someone who never does the washing up. I know I had a bit of a joke about that, but it's not just about that. That is a one-off thing. If you've got someone who's doing one thing, then obviously there's not a problem. You can challenge the one thing. What I'm seeing here is a very, very strong realization that you need to move in a new direction. So the universe is supporting you here. They've got your back. They know what's happening. We have a lot of cards of choice and separation coming through this morning. So there's a bit of a choice here about which direction you go in. All right, so we have the Judgment card and the Devil card. Holy dooly with the Eight of Swords. Okay, so this may be a long reading. The Eight of Swords tells me that what they want to talk about this morning is the fact that when you're in this energy, if you're accepting poor behavior or someone who has an energy of entitlement, then that means that somewhere in you, there is something you do not believe you deserve, or something that you believe you're not either good enough for, or you're not enough. There we go. That's it. So you believe you're not enough. What do you do if you believe you're not enough? You keep giving, because that's the way you have learned to do it. I can't be seen, people don't see me, I'm not noticed, so therefore if I give more, people will see me. It doesn't work that way. And it's about you having the energy within you to be able to say, actually, I am enough, and if this person doesn't believe that, that is their issue, not mine. But am I willing to put up with that then? Because there's the energy of the Eight of Swords here, which is carrying so heavily here, that mentality of, I don't know how to fix this, so I'll just keep investing more. Big mentality here. So I feel like for some of you, this cycle that you are starting to close out is in regard to how you treat your relationships. A relationship with anybody is a partnership. It's not a one-person deal. Now, even with your children, because I know people come back with a lot of things here trying to defend themselves, and that's okay. If you need to defend yourself, that's okay. But even with a child, we expect some things back from a child. So if a child misbehaves, what do? Well, we find some way of showing them that their misbehavior is not really helping their cause. How can we show them that? Well, we might do it by taking something away from them, but it's more likely that we would look at how we could try to explain it to a child. But if the child doesn't respond to that, then there is a consequence for their action. There's always a consequence. And that is, as parents, what we are here to teach our children, so they don't become entitled adults. And I feel this is what we're sort of starting to learn in society when you end up in a relationship where you've got someone who never had that as a child. No, it's not a bad thing. Is it abusive? It may be, but it may be that a parent just didn't have the tools to be able to instruct their child in a healthy way. So they may have never got chastised. They may have never had healthy boundaries. What starts to happen then, the child becomes unsafe and starts to test the boundaries. Am I safe here? Well, if you haven't got boundaries in place, your child will feel unsafe and therefore become very, very insecure in a world that probably already supports that insecurity. So what I see here is the devil energy and the 8 of Swords. Now, the devil energy can represent fear. It may be that you're scared of leaving someone, scared of leaving a situation behind because you don't want to be alone, in which case, if you don't want to be alone, there is some healing for you to do. Because if you think you can't make it on your own, somewhere in your psyche, you have been shown that you are not enough. And this devil energy shows me that you're already feeling quite tied to this energy. I don't feel it's so much the person. I feel like it's the energy here. And, you know, we see people come out of one relationship and bounce straight into the next one only to encounter the same thing. Why? Because the lesson isn't being learned. We do have the Judgment card coming here too. So I'm going to see why it's coming up. All right, a lot of major arcanas here. 10 of Cups is coming through with the Knight of Swords and the King of Pentacles. There we go. Some of you, this may be a husband or a long-term partner here, but you might be starting to wake up to perhaps something you've been doing here for a long time. This could be, again, it doesn't have to be a romantic partner. It could be a family member, a parent who's doing this for you, but there's definitely rebirth here. And the 10 of Cups shows me that there is some some enlightenment, some waking up to this, some sort of understanding of what's happening here. All right, so we have the Emperor, but this Emperor's coming through a little bit sort of like this morning. It's somebody who's actually being quite cold, controlling, maybe not putting the investment into something, but definitely is feeling to me like whoever this person is holding back, perhaps believing that somehow or another it's your job, your role to keep things going. The Justice card tells me that you're learning something here, very strong. 8 of Pentacles, you're putting too much work into something with the King of Wands. The Sun tells me that you're coming out the other side. The Chariot tells me you're moving on, and there's a completing cycle here. There's definitely a choice being made. Now, for some of you, this can definitely be around love, husband, partner. For others of you, I'm feeling very strongly with the energy in the middle that you may be at the beginning of this journey and facing this in your family. Or maybe realizing it's going on in your family and you've not seen it before, or you've not attributed some of your own attributes to how you were raised. Again, no blame here. Sometimes we're raised in a way that, you know, parents only know how, and that might mean you didn't have good boundaries, solid boundaries, and then you allow other people to treat you poorly because of that. But there's a real sort of feeling here that there's something karmic going on for you where you're learning something about yourself here. Let's see what we back it up with. Okay, so we have the 2 of Cups coming through. For some of you, it's definitely a relationship. The Towers here. Okay, with the 7 of Swords. All right, so the 7 of Swords here, and people say to me often about the 7 of Swords, it has probably more meanings than anything else in the deck. It's just full of meaning. It's like the devil energy. The 7 of Swords here feels to me like you're trying to ignore something. It's like you're seeing this going on, you're seeing this situation around you, but you're trying to either ignore it or put it away here. Because remember, the 7 of Swords does talk about trying to get away with something. It may be your strategy. You may ignore bad behavior because you don't have to face conflict. And remember, that is a form of manipulation. So if you don't want to have conflict, if you're avoiding speaking up for yourself, not only are you saying I'm not worth looking after, but I'm also going to ignore your behavior because it might go away if I do that. Well, it doesn't. So there's definitely that feeling with the Seven of Swords. But what I do see here, because I do have the Two of Cups here, is you may be with a soulmate who has this lesson to teach you here. But you see, when the Tower comes through, it says that the way we've been doing things up until now is not serving us. It is not working for us here. So the Tower says something has to fall here in order for you to understand that trying to ignore something or get away with something or hoping it will go away or even that it will get better and you can fix it is not the case. You cannot fix people, full stop. People pleasing is a toxic and unhealthy way to live your life. It is a trauma response, and it's something here that the universe is saying you are being taught a lesson here about your own value. And that is very, very strong here. All right, let's put you an oracle card in. Okay, so we're going to read from the... oh, hang on a second. I might have got that the wrong way around too, didn't I? That Lay Vampire deck. I called this the Lay Vampire deck, but it's the Beautiful Creatures Tarot. Sorry about that. Beautiful Creatures Tarot. That's what I think I called it wrong yesterday. This is Lay Vampires. Yep. Okay, they said pick one at random, so we'll go with the random pick. Ecstasy, yielding, rapture, bliss, 27. Oh, the connection so many have with others who are vampiric in nature is that the giving up of will and of force and being submissive towards another is a way of experiencing a kind of ecstasy. You know, I say this to people, it's like narcissism. You know, many empaths will admit that it's very easy to become addicted to a narcissist. And I'm not talking about the bad behavior or accepting bad behavior. It's the thrill of the experience. It's the thrill of the experience. But then the narcissist can turn quite aggressive or quite nasty. And then you end up in a very toxic relationship. But it doesn't mean that you don't have perhaps an addiction to that, because you will keep going, finding people who are the same. Now, the addiction may not be what we see as healthy, but then perhaps an addiction to anything isn't healthy, right? But it doesn't matter. That's codependency. So if you want to know more about codependency, there's a real lot on the internet, but it isn't always explained in a way that's easy to understand. But basically, some people grow up addicted to love, or addicted to sex addiction, they could call it. But what it means is you will keep sourcing people who have that same energy. And it becomes almost innate. You're doing it out of your nature. It is not a lack of power that enables you to experience this, to become soft and yielding and to allow the will of another who is worthy to dominate is an experience of surrender. It is not helpless about giving up. It is a choice for a time to allow your own will to be dominated by the will of another. And in the experience, ecstasy can be found. For humans tire so often of having to be assertive and again saying what they need, what they deserve, of working hard to be not hurt or eaten alive by a system or by jobs that truly eat the souls of the people in them. If you could see what we see, the beautiful force fields around you of energy lessening and diminishing as you give and force yourself to be strong so often, until energy and self and body are worn and tired. There is restoration in the ecstasy of allowing a worthy other to advise, protect, guide and hold you for a time. It is ecstatic because for just that moment we need not be concerned about our survival and the survival of all around us. The stress drops away and a deep, beautiful, intoxicating surrender flows through you, just as it does when you submit to sleep, to deep relaxation, to the ministrations of another who in that instance of time knows what will please you. Some believe this is all about the sexual dimension, but it is not. It can be about any part of life where you have fought, tried and struggled and gathered your energy and surged through obstacles. Now it's time for the deep relaxation and restoration to allow about you who is worthy to give you in ways that create an ecstatic experience and a deep bond of trust. So they're talking here about surrendering to a higher power. And I feel like you need to understand here that this lesson for you may be that you need to appreciate and love yourself here. But you see, you may be finding some sort of pleasure in trying to fix someone, which is not your role, not your job, and you cannot do that. And if it's bad, it's very hard to make it better. I'll leave you with that. Thank you.